expecting that to occur?
Oh, my retirement year?
Yeah.
I don't know. When I hit 53 years old, and I am about to turn 36.
What? Short timer.
Rule of 80.
Okay.
Oh, rule of 80. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
We'll call the meeting to order. Nina, please take the roll.
Councilman Bundy?
Present.
Councilman Brennan?
I am here.
Councilman McCain?
Here.
Councilman Stokes?
Present.
Mayor Sykes?
Present. Let the record reflect for the February 8th. We do have a quorum. Recognizing, we'll run down to item number 2, recognizing people in the audience. Anybody would like to speak? Hello. Hearing none. Would you like to speak or anything? No. Okay. We'll run down to item number 3. Councilman, what do you got for me?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Stokes.
I have not approached the mayor or the council about this yet, but I have an idea. I would like the mayor and council to personally fund a skateboard giveaway essay contest. The idea would be that each of us throw in $40. We buy 2 skateboards, put it out in the community, and celebrate the success of the skate park. And just text me later if you're in or out. And I think it'd be a fun thing. I'd also invite you to be judges if you'd like to be. And we could give away some skateboards to the public.
I like it. Okay.
Some good nods.
Yeah. $40, that's a good deal. Is that good skateboards or is that middle of the road? Is it?
Some really nice skateboards, complete trucks, wheels, decks, etc.
Okay. I like it. All right. Council, we got anything else?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
beautiful fire truck sitting outside. It might be gone now, but gosh, that's a good looking truck. I'm glad we entered into a good partnership with Rural Fire for that. I hope it's an asset for a long time to come and shows its value for used equipment.
Amen. I agree 100%. All right. We'll run down to item number 4. The
Mayor?
oh, sorry, Councilman Bunny.
That's okay. I wanted to wait until all the announcements were, the council comments were done. I'm sure a lot of us have been following the news for the past week or so, and the Idaho National Guard suffered a tragedy last week when they lost a helicopter and three brave guardsmen. So I just wanted to express from the city our best wishes and prayers and thoughts for the families at this time as they go through the grieving process. So I just wanted to take a second on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll run down to item number 4, the consent agenda. Councilman, anything you'd like to discuss?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
I looked at the resumes and the comments from the 3 proposed library board appointments, and I'd like to thank the folks that have been serving on the board, but these look like well-qualified educators, authors, multimedia library experts, so I think the process to find a continuing board was successful.
And Councilman Bundy, I did tender my resignation on the library board as of last meeting was my last one, and which opened up an additional slot. And these were the ones that were put out to the or these are the ones that actually reached back out. Chairman Green and I interviewed all of them, and we like them all. So we're super excited to have them volunteer and give back to the city and the library. So thanks.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I don't know any of them by face other than Daniel Mercado. Are any of the other 2 present today?
No. Sorry.
That's all right. And how many total applicants were there?
3.
3. Great. Okay. I appreciate you attaching the resume or the letter of intent, so to speak, for that, so we can kind of get to know them slightly.
In the consent agenda, Councilman, is there anything you would like to discuss more in depth or pull, or if not, that I'd entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
The motion is second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Stokes.
Aye.
Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
Councilman Brendan.
Aye.
Councilman McCain.
Aye.
Run down to item number 5. Discussion decision to readdress the prior decision made on the purchase of the 2016 John Deere 544K wheel loader, or to lease and then purchase a 2021 John Deere 524P wheel loader to replace the 2016 John Deere 544K wheel loader. That the lease will be up in April, and authorize the mayor to sign all required documents once approved by the city attorney. So Rich, you wanna speak on this really quick, or no?
Well, I mean, I can. There was kind of the mayor council, kind of on that. I think what kind of came back to look at was the deal with the 84-month. Wasn't that the 84-month?
Warranty.
So that was kind of we looked at what could be done with an 84-month one, which gives it
7 years.
7 years, and so you'd get the 2 years after the end of the lease purchase with that. How we do that. So it would give us a chance to be able to plan again, to budget for that payment at the end, and then plus we get that extra lease, the 2 years with it that way too. So perfect. So that's kind of what was asked to bring back. So.
All right, Councilman.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
why is this on the agenda again?
I just wanted you guys to have more options.
More options?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can buy the old one with a 2-year warranty, right? Or you can buy a new one, because I like the way you articulated your message. When I was out of town, I watched it. When you do antiquate the dollar amount per the hours used, I thought you were spot on. You might as well own it if you're going to pay that much money for it anyways. And then with the limited hours, we're going to, before we even see any issues, it's 15,000 hours, as I think.
1,500.
Was it?
1,500, not 1,000.
Or yeah, sorry, no, I thought it was 15,000 hours is when you experience issues.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was thinking the lease was 15. I'm sorry. No, you're right. Thank you. I was to be
Okay.
15 numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted the council, if you still want to buy the old one, then the old motion and seconded and the vote stands. If you wanted to buy a new one with a longer warranty on it, with a cheaper, actually it's cheaper warranty, isn't it? Or less expensive warranty, and longer years. You get 84 months instead of the 2-year warranty for the old one.
Yeah, it was like 2,000 more for the, instead of the 5,000 for the end of the 2. If you do it longer, it was 2,000 more for the extra 2.
So, and that's, like I said, options.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I have a hard time with this, understanding really why it's back on the agenda. When I see an email here that says, quote, "The council cannot decide which way they want to go with this piece of equipment," end quote. And to me, the council made a decision, right? We voted on it and it passed. And so that kind of, I don't know, I take that personally, I guess, right? Because now I feel like you don't like the answer that we gave you as a council. One was absent, right? The one councilman said we can push this off until the full council's present, and then quickly changed his mind and said, "Wow, let's just move on and vote on it." So I'm gonna stand my ground and say that we need to buy the one that's going out for the following reasons. The numbers that were provided here by Nick Brunel, or Brunel, however you say it. Several options, I guess. I won't go as far as to say good options, because what I want to remind the council and the citizens of is that we're already 5 years in of, I would essentially call it ownership, right? 5 years of lease payments that we've made, that if we go a different direction, we're going to throw that money away. So why do we need to start fresh with a brand new one? I don't get it, right? Because it was brand new 5 years ago, and it's going to last 15 years easy without any major issues, unless, obviously we can't predict mechanical issues, right? Unless people are intentionally beating it up. And that's talking like engines and transmissions. So option number one, right? You go with that. Option number one is the simply paying off the balloon payment at the end of the outgoing lease for $96,900. 5 annual payments of $20,697 with interest. You're paying an additional $6,585 in interest, just in interest for that. But those numbers go up as we go through option number 2 and option number 3. Option number 2 is the starting fresh with a lease to purchase. So that would be either a 5 or 6 year term, and we start fresh from $0 going all the way out to $144,000. And the interest on that varies between on top of the principal, $9,700 to $12,800 additional money of our taxpayer dollars. If you run option number 3, it looks like the numbers are super low. $75,000, that's the balloon payment. Financed over 5 years, similar to what we're looking at now, for a total of $80,000 and $5,000 of interest. But what that's not indicating is that the 5 years that we're starting fresh on another 5-year lease. 5 years from April, whatever this lease would start. 5 years of that, and then an additional $80,000 to buy it out. And we talk about warranty. Both options we're looking at a 7-year warranty, 84 months. So we can either purchase an additional 2 years. That might cost us a few more dollars. I didn't get those figures. Or starting fresh with a brand new 7-year, 84-month lease. So the question is, why do we have to have brand new? I want that answered. Why do we have to have brand new right now?
It basically came down to the budgeting piece, that, that was what we were intending to do with the other one, is not have that balloon, we just didn't get that balloon payment into the budget, because we've just been leasing things, and that's what we started to do with previous things, so we could keep things up to date. And that was just kind of a policy that we were going through, so we weren't planning on having that balloon payment at the end in the budget, and that's where that really comes from. So now that we can make whichever work, and so we can plan for that, how that is. So that's kind of where that was from. It was previously thinking that, well, we were just going to keep leasing this and from another one as we were going. So that was just a policy that was put in place that we were just going through, because again, we ran into just having old things, and we had to, dig out of that, and we wanted to stay away from that. So I was just following what we've done in previous things.
So Councilman Brennan
Can I continue real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
On that note, I may not understand you, and if I'm not understanding, please help me understand. But you're talking about the budgeting process, and it's not in the budget, but we're looking at these other options moving forward from today's date, or April's date, annual payments of $26,000 or $30,000. The way I'm saying go forward is $20,000.
Okay.
So it's less money to budget for. I may be missing something. So
Mayor?
Council, you're fine, Rich.
So again, from that, when we looked at, I'm going to go back to what I have to right here. The previous, so we knew that we've been paying we've been paying $11,000 each of our payments for that whole time. So for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So this year, again, we didn't know what it was going to be, so we budgeted $14,000 to be able to do whatever we needed to do, not knowing what was going to happen with the new equipment, how the lease was going to happen with the new equipment. So, but being able to, and it came in to be 16,000. So being able to find 2,000 in our budget is something that we could be able to do instead of having to find 96 and 960 in two budgets, which we couldn't do, and we weren't planning on that, so we didn't have that in the budget. So that was where that's kind of where that came from. So, but I mean, if we have the old one, we know what it's going to be. I don't have that one in front of me, whatever the new agreement was with that first one. We could make that work with two of them, or if we go with a new lease with something else, we have that 2,000 each of the things to be able to find somewhere in the budget to make that work. Again, we couldn't predict the end of a new lease coming in, how much it was going to be. So we had so much programs that we were just going to keep. We turn that way and we get a new one, we just keep the lease going. And that's what, we did with some of our equipment. They do that. We do that we did that in general funds with with the grader. So we were just going to keep doing that with one of our big equipments that we have.
So moving forward, is this correct? If we go to option number 2, our annual payments going forward are $30,000 or 26.
And so with the new, so if we're going to keep our old one, that's how we're going to end up paying that old one, is the $30,000. So we have $15,000 in each budget that we have to find.
Keeping the old one's option number 1 at $20,000.
At $20,000 for each payment. Okay.
$20,000, right?
Okay.
So,
I don't know which those two were.
so moving
Option number
forward,
2 was buying a new one, completely paying.
When paying
lease
for it right
purchasing
off.
Right off.
Instead of leasing it,
Instead of
looking at the
leasing
end and
it,
being
we're-
able to have, so being able, this one here would be able to, the 16,000 would be able to have our 5 payments, be able to set some money aside to have a balloon payment at the end of that to pay it off and go.
not to pay it off, but to finance the balloon payment for another 5 years. So it's a 10-year program.
We could do that with that one, or we could budget to be able to pay the balloon payment at the end of it. So
Okay.
they'll either, it's that budgeting process, so I have it in writing, so I can get it in my books to know what I need to look for at the end. So with this one, we weren't looking at paying off that balloon payment at the end. So
I'd like to go back to Councilman Stokes' question last time. Is there anything wrong with the machine now?
when I went through it, we've done it coastline, they gave me everything. We had some battery issues, we had some things that they looked at because something was kind of sticking just felt weird when they were driving it. But when they took it, they looked at everything they went through, they couldn't figure out what it was. They changed some oil stuff and fixed it. So nothing big, tires are worn, but nothing major really has ever happened to it.
And was it the mayor that said that with tires, the first thing that's likely to go wrong is going to be the sun rot because of how little we use it?
We try to get out as much, we try to get it started and move it at least once a week to get it, so it's just not sitting there for the whole time.
Okay.
Batteries are the biggest thing, we'll change them every year and what's going on with that. So,
And I guess to wrap up my argument here, do you feel like option number 2, or have you had a chance to review this?
I had that one, and I looked at that in the council packet, but I don't have it in front of me,
So I guess just a quick wrap up. Option number 2 is financing the whole lease to own, right?
The whole, lease purchase.
Lease
for the
purchase.
whole amount.
which I don't.
For either 5 or 6 years, or a balloon payment of another lease after 5 years, so a 10-year deal. Would you say that it is in our best interest as a council to make a decision other than option number 1 for the users who pay our water and wastewater fees?
Which is taking the
Option 1.
that's the one the payment that we have right now with this one, and then putting it over 5 years. I think that's a great one. Or I'm good with either one of those. I think that both of them are fiscally responsible with what's going on with, so we can have something for planning, and I think that's the biggest piece. So if we were going to do the 7-year warranty on a new one, and planning on being able to have it taken care of at the end. So those would be, I am good with either one of those, and I'll let you guys, you're the decision makers on that, but I'm good with either one of those.
Which one do you think is the most fiscally responsible?
For planning wise, I mean, I think that just, we're kind of getting the new one we're getting is a little bit different. It's pretty close to the same machine, it's a little bit different, just to see how that works. But it doesn't have, I mean, it has as much as the other one, it's just different model. We just looked at a different model, so it's kind of a little bit different size, that's what that one is. But again, we've talked about it, we can make either one of those work whatever you'd like us to do. So,
Thank you.
I mean, we're not, I mean, as a department, you always want to try to have something new and try to keep that, you know, it's all planning, and that's where this really came down to, is policies that we've had before in place with our big equipment like this, we just kept leasing it so we know that it was going to run, it was reliable, and we had it. So I think that's where the biggest piece comes in with that, the lease, you know, being able to have the warranty and have something new that it's there. And it's not, I mean, I can't, it's not a limit. That other one's not bad. I mean, there's nothing super wrong with it. It's not a piece of junk that we've had. I mean, you know, we've ran it hard thinking that we're going to be able to, you know, it's just like what do we do? I mean,
It's like a rail
we
car.
ran hard. I mean, so yeah, it's not like we're going to baby it around like knowing that, hey, this is going to be ours. So I think, not that we're beating it up, but that's what those guys in their dealers, just like we are. They know what's going to come back from what they're using. So they know that the contractors are going to use it hard. We used it hard, thinking that we were going to be able to have another one to we use hard again. So those are, I mean, that's pretty much. I've talked for 3 times about this, so I mean, I think
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again? It wasn't-
I don't think I can.
Hey, Paula, what's your thoughts?
Oh. Personally,
Yes.
well, I like new stuff. I like the warranty. I know from talking to some of the department heads that if a computer component goes out, it's tens of thousands of dollars. That's probably not under a warranty. Dealing personally with my own vehicles, I know some things just aren't covered under a warranty unless it was a brand new vehicle. And then budgeting wise, I agree with your key. We didn't have it in the budget. All of the departments do this. So I think out of fairness, each lease that comes forward now has to be critiqued and criticized and answered to. So how are you going to do that with Jake? He has all that equipment. It's been in a rotation cycle. And the reason it is because we had 1960 equipment when I started, and now we're able to finally bring our fleet up to what can be used. So those are just my personal feelings.
You started in 1960?
No, but that equipment was from the base. It came from the base, it was given to the city to use, and then it was passed hand-me-down from each department until we were able to scrap metal it. And a lot of our stuff came from the base. So it was DOD equipment.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I'm not trying to start a fight by any means, but I truly don't understand. Sincerely, I don't understand why we talk. It's not we didn't budget for it. You budgeted for something, right? And so, in my mind, all I can see is moving forward with a $20,697 annual payment, or moving forward with a $30,000 annual payment. If $20,000 wasn't budgeted for, $30,000 wasn't either. I don't understand. So if you could help me.
Well, I think what we're trying to say, I think in the mindset we were just, we're just gonna keep leasing these, you know what I mean? And so we just set that as a budget. We don't ever think about, until you brought it up, why aren't we purchasing it, right? Because we use it so little. So I agree with you 100% that if we're only gonna use it like 800 hours or for the 4 years, and you were right, why aren't we buying the piece of equipment and we'll just have, you know, and take care of it, and we'll, from here moving forward. But how many years have we done the lease purchase program for, you know, it's before I was here. So I know that's, you know, when did you get, I think Mike was the first one to lease purchase a car, right?
Yeah, about 7 years ago.
So I think when we think about this, like here moving forward, I think we should bring up every lease and talk about it and think, okay, do we own it or do we give it back? And then if we own it, and I think I go back to the rental car. I mean, do you baby the rental car when you're out borrowing it? You know what I mean? Or do you run it hard? Or, you know, if you get the sports car package, I don't know, want to see what it can do. And, you know, I'm not saying our employees are beating it up on purpose, but they're going to inherently run it hard or harder just because I'm going to get back and I'll get a new one. If something breaks, it's not a problem. But maybe this time they're like, okay, well, we're going to run it hard, but, you know, still baby it and make sure that we're, you know, doing everything copacetic. And it's not a fight. I want you to know, like, this is good discussion. It's not a fight at all. I love the discussion. Here moving forward, like, you're right. We give up those last 3 years or 4 years of payments? 5 years?
5.
Or from here on out, we don't do that anymore. We just buy it, and then since we use it so little, then we'll have it for 20 years.
I would never want to draw a hard and fast line because different pieces of equipment can be used a lot harder and abused, where other pieces, like a standard passenger car for a police department or whatever department, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
The lifespan isn't as long. They're not going to tell you probably 15,000 hours on a police car engine before the tranny goes out or the engine. So hard and fast rules, absolutely not. But this is a huge piece of equipment that it's built to last.
Right.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Buddy?
Yeah, it sounds like the discussion, and this was the kind of my concern the other day in the working group. If we move towards on this piece of equipment that we want to buy a new one, or we want to maintain this one, great. My question was, and this is what Richard Keaty, if we go to the balloon, this is what I was talking about. The balloon is what, $98,000?
96.
$96,000? That's what wasn't budgeted for. We did not budget for $96,000. So we would have to revamp the budget, and a budgetary question not in the budget cycle. That was my question. Now, if the idea that we did some type of a loan, that brings you closer in line, and then you can go through the budgeting line. But if we go with the new one, which seems to answer the question that we had before, you know, why are we leasing and giving it back with all these hours left on it? If we go with the new one, or if we stay with the old one, the new one, when we go to this budget cycle here in June, we are budgeting for a lease purchase. And then that gives us exactly where we want to go. If we decide to purchase the old one, in my opinion, the balloon payment this year is a non-starter because we weren't even close to budgeting for it. We didn't vote to reopen the budget. We're not reopening the budget. We're just moving money, and I don't like that. If we decide to do the loan, that's a different question. Then now our question is, are we better off with a 5-year-old one or with a new one? Because if we do the new one, it seems to me that we go with our lease payments for 4 or 5 years, which we do forfeit the 4 years we've paid on this last one or whatever it is. But it does push us 5 more years into the future. So I don't know that we've totally lost it. You've just moved it into the future. So, you know, and if we don't do the whole balloon payment in 1 year, we go from 16 to 18 or something like that. And that's fine. That's well within our budgetary window there. So, you know, if the budget process seems to lean towards the new one, it gives us a better one. That sounds like a good option. But I don't know that it's a different option because they didn't like the answer. I just think it's a different option because it seems like as a group we've decided that this is a piece of equipment that's better off kept for 20 years than rather ever 4 years. So the budgetary, the single year balloon, I think is what we're talking about. It's not in there.
So the old piece of equipment, we can buy a warranty for $2,000 or $3,000, and that just gets us 2 more years, right? Or we buy the new piece of equipment for $2,000, we get 7 years, right? Rich? It was the 84 months, right?
It's the 84 months, yes. And I don't know what it's 84 months.
Okay. I guess that's my dilemma. Like, do we just bite the bullet now and now we own it for the next 20 years? At least the first 7 years we have it. It's if something does break, hey, we got the warranty. I just worry that maybe we weren't as nice to the one leaving. You know, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I see it in several perspectives, okay? But as a bottom line thing, I think we should look at the total cost. So buying and doing the balloon payment on the new one comes out in my eyes to $233,000 or $237,000, whether we go at 60 months or 84 months. The old piece of machinery that's 5 years old, we know the history on it. The taxpayers have already invested $55,000 into it, and we can buy it outright for $103,000. To me, that's the better deal. I talked to some heavy equipment operators. They basically said 860 hours is not even broken in at this point for a big diesel engine like that. That's my thought.
Okay. And that's just it. I just wanted everyone to be able to have options. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, whatever you four gentlemen decide, you guys are the budget guys.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
I would propose that we buy it and then in 6 or 7 years, we trade it in for $80,000 and take that equity that we've invested in and put it to a new front end loader. That's what I would imagine, kind of.
Councilman Stokes, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
I think it's just a play on words, really, but a trade-in, you'll get a lot less than the website I referred everybody to, which is
Oh, that machinery thing?
machinetrader.com or something, where you're just selling it yourself. You're not giving a middleman a cut. So the numbers are way higher for sale price on that than a trade-in, a true trade-in.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman, oh, go ahead, Dinah.
Sorry, we wouldn't be able to just sell it on there. We have to auction it. So we would have to find an auction site to auction it off.
Okay.
Councilman Bundy?
I would be reluctant to make a decision based on what a council might do in 6 years. Not saying that I disagree with buying it, but what a council should do in 6 years probably shouldn't be a part of our decision matrix. There's a good chance there'll be different people here.
So then, Councilman, just so I'm clear then, here moving forward, let's say we stick with the old one. Let's just say it's that. Here moving forward, do you then want us have spring up the other ones, the street department, we're gonna need new street sweepers, and what else are we gonna need? The leveler, the grader. There's the grader. We're gonna need street equipment. What are the other ones?
The grader and a Traco were both coming up in 2 years, 2023. That's when we have to either decide to buy them or lease them or get or whatever. And then if we do that, the hard thing is we're already we need to have the sweeper 2 years ago. And, cause we're working those on baling twine. I mean, they're beat up. And so we're not gonna be able to, if we want to do any street work or anything for 2 years or for a year, everything's gonna go to buying equipment and not get any other work done. So that's the hard piece with what's going on with that part. So those are some things to think about.
Councilman McCain?
That's pretty much been my whole thought and point on staying with the lease agreements, because we cannot judge what another council's gonna do. It sounds great to keep it, sell it in 6 years. Maybe we're gonna get the money out of it, maybe we're not. Maybe we have another council that says, no, we're not leasing anything, we're not buying anything. And I think that a few councils have been that way. That's why when we went to the lease, we found out that our equipment was so much better and we could keep it running and we didn't have it because we were leasing, because it wasn't constantly broke down. To where, that's why I believe that for some of this stuff, especially if this council wants to start not leasing it or leasing it and then buying it right after the lease, well, that's for this council to decide. But what somebody's gonna do in the future, I don't know. I don't know. I swore I'm never getting rid of the truck I got. Now, I've been thinking about it here lately, so, I don't know. To me, At this point of the game, it doesn't make sense to decide, oh, well, we're gonna quit leasing now and we're gonna buy it and hope that we don't have any problems in the next 2 years while we have a, insurance on it. That'll take care of it.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Nat.
One of the other reasons that they started leasing, and I think Rich Giarchiti just kind of played on some of that, was because we couldn't afford the payments to buy them. The lease payments were like half the price of a payment to buy it. And so in order for us to be able to afford to get equipment and still be able to do projects, it was better to lease it because we could afford the payments to lease it.
Well, and that goes back to the street sweepers. Those have a lot of moving parts on them, and so that it's always in the shop. That's going to be the hard one because that's. And I agree with everybody up here. Like I would never do a lease for my own personal vehicle. I would never rent to own a TV. I would just either buy it outright instead of handing it back. So that's the hard part, I think. You're right. Leasing sometimes is a better option because if something breaks, you're good. You can just go get a new one. If you want to own it, then you have it there. We do have equipment that we do own, and we do every department takes part of using it. So I guess that's the $1 million question. It's not just utilized. I mean, it is utilized 95, 98% of the time for wastewater and water, so we can get those projects. If there's a line that breaks, we get them out there, boom. But I know it's been probably out at the dump, trying to close that dump too.
In a lot of different places.
Yeah, so it's hard, because you're right. At the end of the day, do we do projects, or do we buy the equipment? And that's for you four smart guys to decide. So, if they're totally up to you guys. So, if you just want to go with what you guys had done prior, let's do it that way. If not, do you just want to do just straight lease? Do you want to do the new one?
No matter what, do we have to make a motion since it's an agenda item again?
It dies. It's just,
No, it'll just die if there's no motion or second.
Well,
Go ahead.
just to clear the air, I guess, to stand my ground, I'm going to make a motion to buy the front end loader that we have that's running out of its 5-year lease with an additional two-year warranty on it.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman.
I don't know that we need a motion for something that's already been decided.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I got a real quick question for Mr. Irakiti. How many times has this piece of machine broken down and was unable to help the citizens with a broken water line?
We have other equipment.
I mean, so if we went in to if we went to do something and it went, I don't think it always went to the job site where it needed to go. Just moving it around, some little things. I mean, like, it just didn't feel right when they were doing something. They still did the job, but then they had them come look at it afterwards. I mean, so we always got it there, the job site, if that's a question you're asking me.
I'm kind of leaning on Councilman McCain's question. How many times has it broken down in the last 5 years when it was trying to?
It's gone to, we've had it sent to Coastline. They sent me a thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to say that they've come out and looked at it 7 times for us, that we needed to have something at least, and that's with that's been, I think, 2 of the times was that something was wrong, we couldn't figure out what was wrong, and other ones of their yearly maintenance to come check out what's happening with it. So, I mean, they come to look at it to make sure it's running too. So, and we've had, I think the biggest thing was the biggest cost that we had was that we had to pay $1,700 for them to come look at it because they had to take it also because something that was the differential locked up and was popping noises when going forward, so they had to put it in reverse to get it back to where it's going. But then
Was that under warranty?
Yes, we still have to pay certain things, even though they have a warranty, yes.
And then obviously if something does go down, we have other loaders and other departments that everyone as a team steps up and works together. Hey Rich, I know Parks and Rec has a loader. Does Streets have a loader?
Streets has a loader, they have two, each of those guys have real big ones.
So then, this little loader is for like when you try to get in somewhere small in like an alleyway, or that you can still move.
Yeah, in the middle, in the streets where there's cars all over the place. It's big in the street to get stuff and bring them.
Okay.
Okay, well, if this is an excuse me, Mayor.
Councilman McCain?
If this is an action item, if there's not a motion made, how do we go from here to?
We just move
what's-
on.
I'll just run down item number 6.
Any action item, like the mayor can call, basically like, it's like calling for the question, but not exactly. Or you just say, if there's no further discussion, do I have a motion? And if there is no motion, then it dies.
Oh, okay.
Same way that if somebody made a motion, is there a second, and there's no second, it
Right,
dies.
okay, all right. Well, that's what I was under the impression.
All right, I don't hear anything.
Well, Mayor,
Councilman McCain?
I'll make a motion to lease and then purchase the 2021 John Deere 524P front end wheel loader.
It dies for lack of second. All right. Anything else, Councilman? All right, we'll run down to item number 6 then. Items removed consent agenda, there were none. Discussion decision on planning and zoning recommendations. Brock, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Today, staff brings before you 2 different planning and zoning items. The first is for a conditional use permit for final approval for a temporary use for Johnny Behind D-Rocks. The applicant, Bill Hodges, has been working on this since last summer. It's been quite the journey for him. And I'm excited to give him some closure. So what's being proposed is, I believe it's in your packet, right next to the doctor clinic of Elmore County, right off of American Legion. We have a substantial piece of property, which is currently all within floodway, which makes it so that permanent development is extremely difficult. The applicant is intending to ask for a letter of amendment for the LiDAR. But in the interim, he wants to utilize that property for commercial activity. What's being proposed is a food truck yard, which will have no more than 4 food trucks there, and with ancillary components such as music every now and then. So to give you some background about this item, it went before the P&Z Commission on December 7th. And then we actually went and visited the site on January 4th. And then we ended up continuing that hearing as well that day. During that time, there was some opposition from the local funeral home. However, during that meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission and also with Mr. Hodges, I believe we were able to find middle ground as far as conditions for that use. Since then, I know that Mr. Hodges has been in with constant communication from that party to make sure that this use doesn't propose any potential significant negative factors that would hinder the funeral home from continuing in a harmonious operation. The Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended to this body that you approve it with 7 different conditions. One is that the sales area and display shall be limited to a maximum of 180 days. That the sales area and display shall not obstruct pedestrian or vehicular circulation. That the permanent signage will not be allowed. That no more than 4 food trucks will be allowed without approval from the Idaho Transportation Department. That he may only operate for 6 continuous months. That he shall only operate during daylight hours, 7 days a week, and that The noise limit will not surpass 60 decibels. Just a note for this body, our noise ordinance is currently only up to 80 decibels. So this is actually more strict upon the applicant to adhere to that. I've spoken with Chief Connor. We do have devices so that we can measure noise. So if there was ever a valid complaint, that we would be able to go out there and make sure that Mr. Hodges was operating correctly. With that, I stand for any questions you may have. I also have the applicant here, and he's here as well to answer any questions this body may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I only have one question, and it was about the operating hours only during daylight. Mr. Hodges, are you realizing that like early in the year, like now, it's dark about 6:30? Is that the intention of this?
Yes, Councilman Stokes, I am aware of that, and we intend to operate the facilities there really starting in April, so we'll have much longer days. April, I think it's April through September, October.
Okay.
And so we'll have much longer days during the operating period.
Okay. I just know that I might want to get some food truck dinner, that's all.
Well, I believe Mr. Hodges, the reason that you limited those hours was to be a better neighbor to surrounding properties, correct?
Right, but yes, we're doing everything we can to be a good neighbor. And there was some concern about noise we'd like to have some music there. And the music, we're envisioning, small groups with not a lot of amplification, 2-3 musicians or country western type of music. But that would all end, of course, as soon as daylight is over. So, yeah.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Brock, I have a couple questions on the same category that Councilman Stokes asked, which was the conditions.
Yes.
I'm trying to find out, sir, did you agree to these conditions because you wanted the permit, or are you just happy with those rules?
Well, you never get everything that you'd like to have in situations like this. I'd say Brock has done a great job, kind of helping steer and navigate through this. And the conditions, that follow this basically temporary use, there might be some conditions that I would like to expand a little bit upon, but we can work within them. It's been a process of compromise with everybody. And so going through these conditions with 4 food trucks, of course, we'd like to have more if it proves as successful as we hope it will be. But there's some limitations that are placed on us by ITD, because I had to get ITD's approval to widen my entrance. And so at the time that I got the approval from ITD, they listed as a condition of their approval no more than 4 food trucks. So that's why we've got that limitation there, to follow ITD's constraints. The operating hours constraints, since we're really, we're focusing this more on as a family venue, that the operating hours, in the heavy months of, May, June, July, August, September, it's like we've got pretty much till 8 or 9 o'clock at night to operate, and that works for us. So we're fine with that. We never intended to do anything that would be a late night type of venue. So these operating hours will work for us.
I really just asked that because of the 7 conditions, I highlighted 5 of them in which I don't necessarily agree are completely fair to you. But if obviously, right, you're being a good steward of the permit and the space out there with your neighbors that you have. But I would like to advocate for more. Just as he said, at 5 o'clock it's dark, and you have a completely I don't know the best word, a valuable asset where at 5:30, it's okay to serve dinner if it's dark, right?
Yeah.
And if ITD put a 4 truck limit on you, we can't change that. But I mean, I would advocate for 5 or 6 because I think there's an absolute value there, and we want it to look good, right? So it talks about no permanent signage. If you wanted to put in a permanent signage and then take it out when you're no longer in business, only because he said,
It's in the floodway, he can't.
okay, so I don't. That one is has a city code on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the reason I have
Okay.
it there. But
Is
the intent of this is Mr. Hodges wants to have this be a permanent use.
Yeah.
didn't he say he wanted to change the use later with a floodway certificate? Or,
So he's hoping that once he goes through certain processes with the floodway, that it will be greatly mitigated, so that he'll actually be able to develop it permanently. What this does is it gives Mr. Hodges the ability to test his concept without having a ton of risk that comes with, well, I'm going to go through all the floodway stuff, and then I'm going to pave everything, and then I'm going to build these lights, and I'm going to do this. So it's a great way to pilot his concept. Kind of the beauty with this, even though I know he's probably not very pumped to go through this process every year, and hopefully it's permanent so he doesn't have to go through it every year. But after the 6 months of operation, when he comes back next year, and hopefully the neighboring properties are able to see, well, maybe this isn't as bad as what we thought, that perhaps they would be more comfortable with having additional hours of operation. Another thing I want to know, so as far as outright permitted uses go on that property, and I kind of said this to the neighboring property owners as well, and I've been very happy with Mr. Hodges. He's been very forthright, very compromising. But if we were to do a permanent uses there, we could have a bus station there. We could have a car wash there. We could have all of these uses, which in my opinion are a lot louder and could probably have more negative impacts than the uses what he's proposing. So I think that kind of shows you who Mr. Hodges is, being that he's willing to compromise in certain places just to be a good neighbor and just to have a effective presence. So, you know, just know as far as permanent development, councilman, there's some things that we just can't do.
Sure.
Just because it's floodway. But hours of operation, there is some flexibility there. And another thing that Mr. Hodges could do, let's say that he wanted to test out, I want to do Saturday nights, I want to be open longer. He could actually do a special event permit through NINA,
I'm just gonna ask that.
where we would be able to allow those, and hopefully make the neighboring properties feel a little bit safer. Just because then we can assure them that as city staff that we're monitoring it and that we're doing all of our due diligence as well.
You actually stole my next question. I was gonna specifically ask about a special
I
use permit.
apologize.
Is that something we could put in here that says, obviously if the council agreed to it, but that he would have the right to ask for a special event permit?
Yeah, so I don't know if it would have to be in there verbatim, but if we wanted to, just out of goodwill, that's something that we could do. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in there verbatim. He's still able to ask for a special event permit to operate outside of these hours.
He still has the right to ask for that.
Okay, that's fair.
Mr. Mayor?
And I might add that and Roger pretty much hit the nail on the head, you know, we're looking at this as, in a way, as a test situation. And we think it's going to be, well accepted by the community. I think it's going to be an asset for the community. And we want the community to get a feel for it for the first year. And then next year, I'll probably be back in front of you with maybe an expanded proposal. And I think that handling it that way because is a good way to go through it, because it's really fairly a new concept. And the entertainment portion of it, I think, is important. You know, to have the musicians there, to create a community center where people can bring their dogs, they can go eat, they can hear some music, they can have a soft drink or a beer because we do intend to go through the process to put a temporary beer operation there. So it would be, something that we think that the community is going to embrace. And so by giving this a 6-month trial, then next year we'll come back and I think be in a good position to expand it.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. Hodges, is there gonna be a bathroom facility or something for,
Yes.
the handicap, ADA kind of deal?
We're going to bring in portable toilets,
Okay.
porta potties basically, yes.
All right, Councilman
Mayor.
Kane?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for Johnny Behind the Rock to allow food truck yard as a temporary use on real property located on American Legion Boulevard with conditions.
Second. It's been motion and second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Kane?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Aye. Run down to number 2, approve the conditional use permit of Jeff Likes Dutch Brothers Coffee to allow a drive-in establishment on real property located at southwest corner of American Legion Boulevard and northeast City View Drive with conditions. You're up again, Brock.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Hodges. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right. So, this is the second time that this item is actually coming before you. So prior, both the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and you approved the conditional use permit for a drive-through to be associated with Dutch Brothers. However, since then, as they were doing their final designs, they realized that they wanted some flexibility just for that site. One component that they wanted to have is they wanted to make sure that they had a pedestrian-oriented order window, and they wanted it to be comfortable for their customers. However, when they decided to put that on, myself and also our building official, Hank Patrick, we noticed that it was attached to the building and it was within the 30-foot building setback off of American Legion. After speaking to the Idaho Transportation Department, they said that they would be supportive of them being allowed to be within that zone if the applicant was willing to install bollards that would rest right between the pedestrian order area and sitting area and American Legion Boulevard. So they would like to amend.
Is that
Councilman Bundy?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming the bollard impedes a vehicle from going into that area.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So the first way they would like to amend the existing conditional use permit that you approved would be allow them to build within that setback and having bollards there, as it is a condition within the staff report. The second item, being that their building is smaller and being that there are certain signage rules for that overall development, so there's going to be just one single freestanding sign for everyone, and then each tenant is going to have a place. So Dutch Bros is relying on their business to essentially be their sign. The gateway landscaping is extra standards that we have on top of our current landscaping standards, which say that you need to have a certain number of trees. Due to the size of their building, they're actually asking if they can forego those trees. They're still going to have trees in their parking lot and they're still going to meet all of the other standards, but instead be able to have shrubbery so that their business can remain visible and not cause any sort of distraction or not being able to be seen just because of those trees. They also believe that the shrubbery they will install will be easier to take care of and it will be drought tolerant. That's something that our comprehensive plan speaks about, using native species. So that would be the second condition that the applicant is currently asking for.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
so these are all things that ITD has looked at and they're good with.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, for a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for Jeff Likes Dutch Brothers Coffee to allow a drive-in establishment on real property located at the southwest corner of American Legion Boulevard, northeast City View Drive with conditions.
Second.
The motion and second, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
All right, running down to discussion decision on water and wastewater rate increases. Set a public hearing date for March 8th, 2021 at 6 PM.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
for a motion, I'd like to make a motion that we set our public hearing for water and wastewater rate increases. Excuse me, let me restate that. I'd like to make a motion that we set a public hearing date for March 8th for water and wastewater rate increases.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All right, item number 7, ordinances. Ordinance enacting new Title 10 municipal fiber optic system action item.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask, I know you're setting the public hearing, but are you setting the public hearing with the amounts that are stated in here? Is that the amounts I'm
Yes.
putting in the public hearing? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Ordinances,
I'm not gonna guess I know.
enacting a new Title 10 municipal fiber optics system ordinance. Councilman? Got anything?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading tonight.
Second.
The motion and second, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Dinah, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Elmore County, Idaho, enacting a new Title 10, Chapter 1 entitled Fiber Optic Systems, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause for inconsistent provisions, providing for a summary, and providing an effective date.
Councilman, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Run down to amending section 9-8-2 essential services to add fiber optics infrastructure. Councilman,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Bundy?
make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading tonight.
Second.
Good motion second. I'll call for the question. Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Dinah, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Idaho, amending Title 9, Chapter 8, Section 2 of the City Code of Mountain Home, Idaho, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause for inconsistent provisions, and providing an effective date.
Councilman, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Brennan?
I have a question. Can I ask a question this time?
You bet.
Is this saying that every brand new house even that is built is required to put in the infrastructure for the home receiving network of fiber?
That is correct. So any new build will have to install the conduit, which is the tubing, so that once that property is actually contiguous with our fiber, that we just have to flow it in. So we are making it so that every new development has to install that base infrastructure, which is only the conduit.
Just conduit. We'd make them still pay for the water, the wastewater, you know what I mean?
I do. What I struggle with is that we're telling the citizens that this is a completely opt-in, opt-out program. Fiber, right?
If you so choose to have it, yes.
Okay, but the infrastructure is not an option if we pass this.
It's the conduit, the pennies of the dollar, the plastic tubing. Because what happens if, like you said, if you don't want the fiber optics, right, you don't have to take it. But maybe you said you sell your home down and then we have to come back and install all that again. We have to tear up the sidewalk, bore it out to your house. There's a cost that'll be incurred. This way, whoever does put the infrastructure in, it's literally half, I would say, probably like not even, it's probably more than half on having to put that infrastructure. Somebody's gonna have to, like, you're gonna pay for the water, you're gonna pay for wastewater, you're gonna pay for fiber optics, tubing, that's it.
Who is it that would bear that cost for, like, from the street to the house on an existing home?
Like currently, the homeowner.
The homeowner. Okay.
Point of clarification,
Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor.
Brock.
Also, let's say for future development, like our brand new subdivisions, that cost would then be on the developer. He would build it into the cost of the home, like any other amenities that he builds into there. So it's actually going to be a lot cheaper for people who are moving into newer subdivisions than it is for us currently installing it into all of our current housing.
So if you took, so there's hard costs, like the fee for water is what, $2,400, the wastewater's 4,200. This, let's say it's only,
6 cents.
yeah, I mean,
Plus labor.
but see, the cool thing is the tube will be up to the house. All we could do then, quintessentially, is we have our guys go and blow it. Instead of it costing the hookup fee, the normal hookup fee, let's just say it's $3,500. Now it might be only $1,500 for our guys to go out there, blow it in, hook y'all up, you're good to go, you're up and lit from the municipal. You know what I mean? It's a cost savers to future or current, or actually not current, but like new homes here moving in the future. Go ahead, Rich.
Mr. Mayor, and one other thing to take in consideration too is if we put in new roads, they're not allowed to cut into that road for 5 years. So they might have to wait somebody that comes into the house might have to wait 5 years to be able to get something put in. So.
Go ahead.
So any new road in the city, no one's allowed to.
That's unless something serious that we have to get into it, but we try not to let anybody cut into a new road for 5 years. So we let everybody know in that area that if there's something they want to get done, you need to get it done. So.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Also, Councilman Brennan, just so you know, this ordinance not only governs private development, but it also governs our projects as well. It makes it so that staff has to plan ahead. So if we are going to be putting a new road in, if we're going to be putting a new sidewalk, that we use that as an opportunity to only dig once, so that we do our best to not disturb any further our citizens while providing them the best value possible.
Thank you.
So there's some motion and second, right? I remember.
You had one vote, and you're in the middle
Yeah,
of it.
one vote, and it was to Daniel. and
sorry,
you
Daniel.
Oh,
confused.
you got the red
Hang on a
thing
second, hang on a second. We're. All right. You want me to skip you, Councilman Brennan?
No.
Okay, Councilman Brennan.
For various reasons, but I hate it when new roads get cut into. Aye.
Aye. Councilman McCain?
Right.
Councilman Bundy?
I voted first.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
All right. Item number 8, discussion decision on moving forward with the fiber optics utility project and the hiring an administrative assistant for the fiber optics department. And I'll let Nina and Paula, or whoever wants to talk about this one, go first.
I'll be right there.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
well,
ahead, Jeff. You
while
just-
Paula's out, I'm just expecting that with the new LID, the citizens are going to have questions for the fiber optic team while they're out digging and putting in fiber. It seems to me that this position would be warranted. I'm just kind of curious how we would pay for it. Would that come from the fees for the fiber hookup?
Yep. Well, so right now we have an IT position that we haven't filled, and that's I think it's a grade 14. This position we're waiting to get it back from. It's not BDP anymore. It's Mariband. So it might be a 7 or 8. This person is going to take all the questions, the calls, the emails, the Mountain Home where you go up and sign up. Then that person takes it, they put it in GIS with John Matthews, then they map it, they put it on the website, and so we all know that the LED has to be formed first, and we have to pick a spot. So it's 350 homes is what the judges allowed us to do. So this said person, because the girls out front and then Paula and Nina don't have time to take all the questions and comments, so that'll all be directed to this said person. They will answer everything like, hey, when's my home being hooked up, to pinning the homes that are signing up for the project onto the map. And so first, we just, like I said, first person gets 350 in said area, that'll be the first LED, and the LED is tied to the construction loan and stuff. So the city isn't tied to it. We do all the facilitation, we'll do all the legwork for it, but the LED is the one that quintessentially takes out the construction. Sorry, Paula.
I just would like to pass on to the council, in And so we haven't moved forward other than the first initial meeting that we had all the people come into. But these are the emails of people that want to be connected to fiber. So, and then we get phone calls all week long. I don't have time to do this in city treasurer. So I need help, and that's why we're here. Because once the council gives the go-ahead, they say, okay, we're flagging it, you guys can go. The anticipation is 900 emails. So I'll be happy to be the fiber person, but I don't have time to do 2 jobs. I don't. There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of emails, there's a lot of tracking. It's gonna be a full-time, it's gonna be a full-time position. Yeah. Right here.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stone.
Will there be like an emergency line for this department just in case something happens? And if so, could we connect that to the Public Works cell phone?
It will have, it'll be, Kyle and Danny and all them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have said person in the fiber building currently that has Danny and Kyle in there. Eventually, once it's up and running, the LED will pay for itself, right? Through the O&M and then the fees and whatnot. So everything after the said 350 gets going, it should all be paid for by the citizens and just like your water, your wastewater fee.
That was a joke, Rich.
But there will be there'll be a number that said fiber team will get dispatched just like if there was a water break, a sewer break, but fiber people will be dispatched. And
Great.
I just got an email literally 20 minutes ago, and it's it's Devin saying, "Does this work for you?" It's saying, "Hey, we're getting ready to go live here. We need the initial phase is 350 homes. Nobody will be forced to participate. Subscriptions will be voluntary, opt-in basis. Taxes will not increase to the finance network. Ongoing operation and network must be self-sustaining and not depending on any kind of subsidy from the city." And then he said the expected rough cost is for 1,000 up, 1,000 down. No data cap is around $50 to $55 a month. Participants will have multiple ISPs to choose from. And then currently we kind of, with the heat map that we currently have now, it's north and south. Yeah. So the hard part is there's Councilman Stokes
Go south.
and they got Brock over there. They're jonesing for the fiber in their neighborhood, and then there's like Councilman Bundy and myself and Micah and then the north end. You know what I mean? So.
The north end, well, whoever, north end goes, right?
So, Chief, you got to start strong arming our neighbors and getting them to sign up. And so the hard part is we have to take one of them, and that was Holly Trucks. Holly Truxell. He said, "You guys can't do anything until you pick a boundary."
Mr. Mayor, do we have a space for him, a desk, a computer, phone, kind of that everyday work?
We have a space.
Okay.
It's at the fiber building that they have a Public Works. Their desk they do have a desk.
Cool.
Read between the lines here.
Yeah.
Mayor, Council, kind of answer Councilman Stokes to answer your question. Yeah, I mean, they could certainly, it's a utility. We have another setup on our phone where we can certainly, if they call the 2108 number and at nighttime, they choose one or two to go to water, wastewater. They can choose 3 and they can go to that one. So we're already set up to do something like that.
Great.
And just for clarity, Rich did get us an appointment with SCADA to try to get them online, so I'm kind of excited to get our SCADA system. So it's instantaneous, not that 10-minute delay, the radio reads, but we'll still keep the radio reads for backup. And then here moving forward, have it, instantaneous.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bowman.
You got red going.
Wait.
This is supposed to be a new system.
You were, right?
The IT guys can't figure out why it keeps doing this. That's the problem. It doesn't do
Hey,
it, it doesn't do it when they're here.
What we should do is show them this on our video.
There we go.
I've taken a picture of this. just doesn't do it when
There
they're
you
here.
go.
All right, Councilman Bundy.
So it sounds like, talking to our current, that this is a warranted position that we're going to end up funding through the LID. And what we're asking for tonight is the opportunity to approve the process to put this person in place for identifying our 350 and handling that, and then as we expand from that 350 to the next 350. So it sounds like Daniel's got another question, and then after that, if you're satisfied with your question, I would suggest that we move forward on this. But I definitely want you to be able to make sure that you understand what you're doing.
Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
So this is listed as an administrative assistant under the fiber optic department. Who's the department head?
Well, yeah, currently it's the mayor, but there's also some administration from me.
Okay.
And me.
Eventually,
I do all the LID thing.
all of it is gonna go to Public Works. It's where it should be,
Right.
but Rich has got a bunch of things on his plate, and this is kind of brand new baby steps and new department, new everything, but it'll eventually go into Public Works.
So if hired now, it'll be your administrative assistant? Huh?
Well, I guess it'd be mine, Paula, Nina's, Kyle, Danny's, you know.
It's kind of a shared
Yes.
job. And if this person is hired, are they immediately jumping into not a full-time job, but full-time responsibilities? Like, will it instantly be 40 hours a week job?
Oh yeah, they got a whole file to start calling people and like, here, okay, you need to sign up. I need to put you on a map now and get it going.
Okay. Because I had a short discussion with Nina and about getting her an assistant in her office. She works so hard and gets so much done, but man, we overwork her to death. And
And I told him I didn't need an assistant.
I was gonna say, you have an assistant. It's Daniel.
That's what I
But if
told
we
him.
don't do this,
I
you
told
will.
him- I told him you needed to hire a fiber person, is what I told him.
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Councilman.
Nina needs help, but there's no place to put any help.
Absolutely. And then finally, you say we have an IT position budgeted, but now we've outsourced our work to an IT company.
Allied.
Did that money for that IT person transfer to that contract work?
No.
So we additionally funded another.
So
A
when
contract
we
company?
When we first brought Allied on, they were doing a big project for us. Remember that? They came in, did that big presentation, and we used that IT salary to fund that project because Derek was leaving. But in the last budget cycle, the IT companies just funded at their regular, what they originally were. But the IT manager position that Derek held was left in there.
Okay. And it hasn't been filled since this entire current budget year?
Correct.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Stokes.
I'd like
Wait,
to-
sorry. Are you? You got
Come
more?
back to me, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Stokes.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the fiber optic utility project and the hiring of an admin assistant for the fiber optic department.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll call for the question. Motion second, I'll call for the question. Councilman McCain?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
I'm not quite ready yet, nay.
Councilman Stokes?
Aye.
Alrighty. Final comments. My comments are, I want to thank the council for approving the new library trustees. It was in my time sitting on the library trustee position, it's a task that I think is forgotten because people just think it's a library, right? Well, the library and the library ladies and gents that do that day every day, they do a lot of great work with the citizens of Mountain Home, and for me being on there, I felt like we did great work. We were able to balance the budget, bring it back to the council, and I hope that you guys were as excited as I was when we brought back a balanced budget to you guys. And then here moving forward, I definitely want to tell you how much I appreciate you filling these positions. It's something that the citizens of Mountain Home definitely, the library is something that definitely needed. So when I go out and Brock and I are out into the public and we go talk to businesses, they ask, okay, you want me to bring my multi-million-dollar business here, but what do you have for my employees? And the first thing they look at is Parks and Rec. They look at the library, they look at the golf course, and of course, and this is gonna be funny when I say this, they look at a cemetery. I don't know, but that's what they look at. And so I just want to tell you guys that me stepping down, in a way, I feel like I've left them, the new board and the new trustees, in great hands. I think they're going to impress you guys, and they're going to do great work for the citizens of Mountain Home. And like I said, it was great to sit on there, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit on there. And it helped open my eyes to a lot of things. So with that, I want to thank the council for allowing me to have that position and allowing me to do good work. I hopefully we did good work that in your eyes, and here moving forward, getting to the, hopefully they're going to pick a new person, hopefully in the next month or two, new director, and we'll see what happens and go from there. But thanks, Councilman. Anybody else got anything else? Here not, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.